7:30, and we'd like to go ahead and open the March 8th, 2022 meeting for the Littleton Conservation Commission. We now have quorum, and as a reminder, this is being recorded. If we have anyone that is in the gallery that likes to speak, if you could just acknowledge your name and where you reside, that would be great. So we'll go ahead and get started under approve minutes. So we would ask if we have anyone that has would like to submit any comments to February 22nd, 2022 in terms of edits or comments. Anyone have any thoughts?
I passed along some editorial comments to Amy earlier today. Nothing too substantial.
If we don't have any other comments, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from February 22nd?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from our February 22nd, 2022 meeting, Conservation Commission meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Who would like to do roll call?
I would be happy to do the call of the roll.
Thank you, Andrew.
No problem. All right, so going down the line, I've got Brian.
Brian Crowley, I'm going to vote present for this one. I missed the 22nd meeting.
Okay, Sarah.
Sarah Seward, aye.
Chase.
Chase Gerbeck, aye.
Kyle.
Maxfield, aye.
And myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to the administrative discussions? So we have a list of some items to go ahead. Does anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, I was hoping we could talk about that Amazon property over on Taylor Street.
Yep. Okay, we will add that. Okay, let's go ahead, Amy, with an update. Durkee and Kay certificate of compliance. Can't hear you.
That is just on there in case it comes up for discussion later when those guys are in, so we can table that for now.
Okay, great. Other requests for certificate of compliance, 11 Mason Brook, DEP Mass.
By the number is a very old one, and it's ready for a certificate.
Okay. Do we have someone that would like to make a motion to issue the compliance, the certificate?
Move to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 204121.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Wonderful. Andrew?
Roll call vote. Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Sarah.
Sarah Seward, aye.
Chase.
Chase Gerbeck, aye.
Kyle.
Kyle Maxfield, aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous.
Next up is the Oak Hill cell tower budget for 2022.
If it works for you, I'd like to table that right now so the scouts can come and go with what they need to do.
Super, great. So who's here to speak for the Girl Scouts troop 62407? We have comments of a bench and a bat house.
Yes, hi, my name is Liza Ahern. We live at 11 Florence Street in Littleton. We have a troop of 5th graders, and I have a couple of them here with me this evening, along with my co-leader, Rebecca Myers, and her daughter, Millie. Our girls are working on their Bronze Award project, and last year at Cloverdale, they planted 12 trees and did a video and really loved the experience. So this year they would like to place a bench so people can enjoy Cloverdale more readily when they're out on a walk. And we also want to install a bat house because they learned as we've been having our meetings outside my backyard that there's lots of bats in Littleton and they do a lot of great work. So a lot of the girls have covered that in their science lessons. So the girls can answer questions if you like. I can give you any information you want.
That would be great. Do we have any commissioners that would like to ask questions of any of the troop members?
Sure, this is Kyle. I guess a quick question. This sounds awesome. I'm curious whereabouts on Cloverdale you're looking to install these benches in bat house.
Well, the girls don't know this, but
Okay.
Rick said there's a clearing that they've made that's a great place for seating. It's going to be a 2x4 bench. The girls are going to stain it. They're going to work with adult volunteers to cut it and make it themselves. We're going to use pressure treated wood, and the bat house comes with it. But I don't know if Cece or Callie do you guys want to tell them why you want to build a bat house? No?
Well, in the beginning, we mostly wanted to do stuff for just animals, but then we noticed about all the bats that were in the yard, and we thought it would be pretty cool to make a bat house.
You're going to construct these bat houses yourself? Is that the plan? Nice.
What color are you going to paint them? Are you going to leave them natural?
Bats feel more in the nature instead of having something bright.
That's perfect. I love it. And then you may have said this already, but how many bat houses are you all going to build and install?
I think we're just doing one. We might have the possibility of doing two. It really depends on our timeline because we have 12, 11-year-olds and they have a lot of project to do.
That's awesome. And so what is your time frame for installation, do you think?
As far as what we've submitted to Girl Scouts and I think what the girls want to do, we hope to get the build done in April during our April meetings. We're asking parents to volunteer. So we would say no later than June when school ends.
Okay, awesome. So Amy will probably be in touch with you a little later. We have a new process for our bench permit. And so it's very straightforward, but it's something that the girls can fill out for sure. Any other commissioners have any questions or comments? I think it's an awesome project.
I actually did have one question because this came up in the last benches is about how or if they're even anchored. Because that obviously complicates things.
Yeah, we didn't plan on anchoring it, but if that's something I can work. We have a couple fathers who are really good at building stuff, and we'll work with them to get it done.
Amy, did you have a process in mind for anchoring?
I didn't. I just remember we went through this with was it Stephanie Mullen who did all the benches before, and I believe at that point we ended up. What did she pouring concrete foundations, but it ended up not doing it because the benches were so incredibly heavy.
Yeah, they had talked about putting down concrete pads. But
Yeah, it sounds like some of her benches have walked around a little bit. They're shown up in different places.
really?
Yeah. And one has disappeared, but Rick Finley thinks that highway might take it down for snow plowing because it was near the road. So I'm trying to track down, see if that one's still there or not. This one, if it's back over on the other side of the boardwalks, is probably in a safer location.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's something that maybe, and we can go through the form later if anybody has ideas for that, is at least a consideration. It might not be a requirement, but at least some kind of consideration.
We also wanted to let you know that we had plans. Like, I know a lot of people worry that when the Girl Scout troop moves on, what happens? We've been working with what they call the service unit, the other leaders. So as people have completed, bronze, silver, and gold awards, we're now making sure that we have a catalog of that and younger troops moving up that can take over. So we anticipate that we'll probably have to restain and sand the bench periodically. It's going to be a pressure treated 2x4s. It looks pretty heavy according to the plans that were picked out. So it's sturdy. So yeah, we have a plan in place that once the bronze award goes through and the installation's done, that it would be cataloged with all the other archival information. So a younger troop could pick it up or use it for their service project.
Wonderful. So it sounds as though based on where you and Rick Finley really determine, maybe touch base with Amy to see if we do need anchors or not. But we appreciate your efforts and coming in this evening.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much. You girls want to say thank you?
Thank you, troop members.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next land use, our bench application. So this was sent as an attachment, if anyone had a chance to look at it. I had just asked Amy one comment in terms of where we do have other installations like bat houses, if it's just easier to put everything on one form. So that way it's fairly specific in terms of where the locations are. And then we can also add if an anchor is needed as well for benches. Any commissioners have any comments?
Well, I guess also, if we're going to make it really inclusive, I was going back, this is basically based on the land use permit, which is usually has been used for sort of a one-time type thing, but maybe the land use permit could just be broadened to include more permanent installations. One form, two forms, I think it probably doesn't make too much difference.
I'm all about one form.
It'll become 2 pages, but yeah.
Any commissioners have any suggestions or edits on this, or let Amy fly with it?
And I thought it looked great.
Okay. All right. Super. Thank you for creating that. Next up is potential site walk for 166 Mill Road. The snow has melted.
You want to consider this at the end of the evening, or if any other site walks come up? I would kind of consider this one the lower priority because it's not actually filing in front of you. But the clocks are about to change, so.
Okay.
That'll help.
I'll go ahead and table that till the end. Next is remote meeting authorization through July 15th, 2022.
Yeah, that was just, I think, I've got enough consensus that you want to put off that decision till later, but a more near-term decision is the finance committee wires just got crossed. And so they do have the first and third Tuesdays of the month and they get priority. So we would be bumped to second and fourth. I'm hoping that doesn't make a problem for anybody.
So I think our meetings are posted for, I believe we're posted for March 22nd, then April 12th. When would we like Amy to go ahead and start to initiate that jump? In April or wait till May?
I was thinking I might just make it like the first one in May. Switch it over.
Is there any possibility we get crossed up because of a 21-day filing period there? If somebody submits something at exactly the wrong time?
Well, that's why I want to push it out. So I make sure it's all listed and I'm not going to screw up a newspaper ad with the right ones.
So I think what we're hearing is that you have support to go ahead and try and start to facilitate that change. Okay. Okay, next, sewer system expansion project, dual expanded environmental notification form, proposed EIR.
That includes 242 King. It's all the phases of that whole project. If anybody's interested in looking at it, it's available online. The only thing I would say is if you do look at it, because of their timing, the right now in the ENF, what is the proposed alternative will actually not end up being the preferred because they did change things around to get further out of the buffer zone, the 50-foot buffer zone. But they didn't have time to develop that far enough in the ENF. So in the ENF, it is just called alternative one or something like that. So, but it will become the preferred.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Amazon.
I was wondering if you had heard from them at all, Amy. I know Beals had said they would come back in. Yes, and I know before I had left, they've done at least a couple of rounds of groundwater sampling there.
Yeah.
And there are issues upgrading of the wells and of the wetlands, unfortunately. But it's where we would have expected along. I can't remember the street that comes off of Taylor, but right next to
Monarch.
Yes, Monarch. Right. Yep. So they put a well off of Monarch Drive, which is uphill of the new building, and there were high levels of sodium in there. So, and I don't know. I would assume the groundwater travels down towards the site from up there, but it'll be something.
So that basically says what's coming into the site from off-site, and then they have a downstream or down gradient well to see if they're adding anything into it?
Yep, yeah, they put a well. It's not quite, I guess, not quite upgraded of the wetland of their detention, but they put a well pretty close by the detention or infiltration basin that they installed,
Right, yeah.
and off the parking area there. So, yeah, that'll give a good. And then there's one. I think then there's two more on the secondary property. One closer to when you first get on, and then one on the back edge of the site. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give them a call, see if they can give us a summary.
yeah, just curious. I'm sure it might be maybe more beneficial to hear come summer. I imagine they'll do another round sometime after the winter here to really see how bad it was influenced with the salting.
Thank you for that. Okay, it's now 7:45. Let's go ahead and open the public hearing request for amended order of conditions, which is 9 Air Road, Mass DEP 204-898. Anyone here to speak to that?
Yes, Kyle Mann here to discuss amending the order of conditions. That's something.
Okay, Kyle, it's all yours.
So here we have, so last time I came in, we discussed a few things with the plan that we had provided you, and there were a few things that we went over. The plantings, for whatever reason, just due to kind of error at moving through, had been removed from inside the buffer by the street, between the street and the 100-foot buffer mark. So we added those back in exactly the way they were, except adding a few where the second driveway was. We added plants in there. Obviously now there's one driveway coming in rather than two. So we added that back in. We have provided a full stormwater report, and that's actually, everything's gone through peer review at this point. We've gotten comments back. Have you guys, I was actually just thinking if you guys had received the comments from Green on the peer review.
I actually have not gotten those.
Okay.
I know Maurin has them, obviously, but
Yeah, so there was nothing really pertaining to drainage, runoff, or conservation. There was a lot of comments about just little notes on the plan more than anything. There was, as the drainage was obviously reviewed, the whole site was reviewed, and it was a lot of mostly notes, and then a couple things not pertaining to drainage or conservation at all. But I'll make sure that gets sent over to you. You should have had, I guess, probably should have had that prior to the meeting. But do you have any questions for me in regards to the changes that we've made, and if this is what you guys were looking for? Any questions?
Commissioners have any questions or comments?
and Kyle, could you zoom in a little bit on the lower part that's in the buffer zone, just so it's easier to read?
Yeah, because I can't read that.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So there we go. I remember in the last meeting too, there were a few questions about the area off to the left here where my cursor is now, the area that we were supposed to protect the protection area. So I went out and walked the site. This property bound in the far left corner is still in place, and I pulled ties and measured off that. And it does look like all those trees that we discussed are still in place. And that was a concern after that question was asked of me in the last meeting. But I went out, walked, measured, and it seems that everything there that we had discussed is still in place as well. So as far as that goes, it seems if we're good, and we've gone back through and added all the requested plantings to the buffer.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I have a question or two.
Yep, go ahead, Chase.
Can you explain to me how the maintenance will be organized for the basins, and who will be responsible for it? Is it individual property owners? Will there be a homeowners association?
Yeah.
How will that be taken care of in the long run? Because the maintenance is a big part of this.
Yeah, so this is going to be an associated development. Basically, it's a common driveway rather than a common road. So they're going to be on a common septic. There's basically everything's in common here. So the maintenance along the front here for the basins will be part of the association. It'll be put in place and make sure that they're maintained. I'm assuming that the people living in this development will want them maintained aesthetically anyways too. So I don't think that will be an issue making sure that that happens.
I guess I don't disagree that they'll want it aesthetically maintained. I worry about something where responsibility is diffuse here in the maintenance of that. Sarah or other commissioners, how in small developments like this in the past, how have we memorialized the responsibility to maintain these and ensure that it's done? Because I don't know that I've really seen it taken care of in a way that is, I think, adequate. Certainly in bigger developments, we've had issues, say nothing of smaller ones.
Right, and I think it's a valid point, because while I think people wish to have things kept aesthetically, I think at times it comes down to dollars and cents and contributions to that as well. So, and I think for some commissioners that perhaps haven't been on this property, that may be new to the commission, we would schedule a site walk as well. And we would ask if commissioners wish to do so, if there's anything in particular that you would like to see staked out that perhaps is not there presently. But Kyle, it would be nice if you can address Chase's question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree, and I've seen on a lot of the larger developments, a lot of the basins can be neglected, silted up, forgotten about. I think the good thing here is that, you know, these basins are not tucked off to the side. They're not on the edge of the property. These things are pretty well front and center. So you know, where typically I think it is difficult, and I would very much agree with that, to get homeowners to spend money on something that's tucked off into the woods, essentially. This development's unique. The basins are dead front and center, right in the entrance to the property. So where I do believe that this would be a problem in other developments where they're tucked off to the side, I think that it'd be important to everybody involved to keep these maintained. So I do think that, I don't know if we'll just write something up in the agreement to be sure that they maintain their land. But this is a big portion of it, and in the entrance and all that. So I think,
and I think that's largely what I was getting at, is that I'd be interested in ensuring that this responsibility to maintain these it carries with all four of these properties, not just the ones who actually own the portions of the property in which the basins sit.
okay.
But Chase, are you thinking to memorialize that on the deeds?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Which
Do you
we've
have an
done
example
in
of-
the past.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've done in the past?
That the HOA needs to be recorded, and with stuff like this, sometimes it's like the first occupancy permit or whatever you want to tie it to will not be issued until the HOA is recorded, something along
Okay.
those lines.
Yeah. I mean, this will just essentially be a note in the HOA, because that will absolutely have to be in place before the first certificate is issued, just because it's a combined septic. There's a lot of combined areas. The driveway coming in actually touches 3 different properties. So yeah, we'll have to be sure that the HOA is in place prior to the first certificate of compliance. And we can be sure that there's a note in there that the
Certificate of compliance or certificate of occupancy?
occupancy, sorry. Occupancy.
Kyle, I may not be able to see this, but where is the access for maintenance for your culverts? I mean, for your basins? So when they have to get, is there a scheduled area where they would come in to access this?
A scheduled area, I'd say no. I think the whole area needs to be maintained from where.
I understand that, but you have to have an access point on both of them.
An access point. So they're not overly deep basins, so they'll be able to easily access with a mower or probably weed whack the slopes. But we could do that if that's something you'd like to see. I think that these aren't overly deep basins, so I don't think that'll be an issue. But yeah, I mean, if that's something that you'd like to see, like a stone roadway coming in from the drive. Obviously, we'd like to keep it aesthetically.
No, I think just to have a designated, almost similar to like a grass easement. I
Oh,
would like
okay.
to see that versus someone coming in and dropping down through the trees, which if all of a sudden they may just think, oh, it's convenient. But
Yeah.
I think if you could have just a designated spot on both, I think that would be helpful for the maintenance point.
Okay. Yeah. And now, is that something that you'd want noted on the HOA, or is something that you'd like to have added to this plan? As far as just like a note that says, hey, this is where you'll drive your tractor.
Well, I believe the HOA is going to reference your plan, so I think we would want it on the plan.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if that's a necessary item, that seems to be an easy revision to make.
Yeah.
Now,
I think sometimes the easiest thing to do is just attach the O&M to the HOA.
Yep.
And there'll be a little plan in the back of that. It would call these basins 1 and 2 or whatever, and just show where access is.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you like access from the street, just so, we put it in the spot that you'd like to see, like from the roadway down, or would you like to see access from the streetway? I guess I would assume access would be where my cursor is here and here, but we have these stone spillways as well. So, yeah, we'll come up with a good spot, and we'll be sure to add that to the plan.
Might be something that commissioners can offer suggestions out on site as well.
Okay. Yeah. The pond over to the left here is in place, but this one is not.
No, the one on the left.
Yeah. So it'd be tough to visualize now, but
Yep. Okay.
yeah, there's quite a bit of dirt mounded in this area here, so it'd be tough to visualize. But yeah, maybe being on site would help.
Any commissioners have any other questions or comments for Kyle? Would commissioners like to start opening up their calendars so that we can look at a time that might work?
And the only other thing I'd ask them for, and can discuss it tonight, or I can deal with them later, is they do have the red oak and white pine, which are the species that were left over from the original plan, but they also have all those new, I don't know, almost snowflake looking trees that are not specified what those are going to be. So I just wanted to get a list of what's proposed.
Okay. I think there is a list somewhere. I thought that was sent over in this report, but I don't have that in front of me. So
It could have been, and I could have missed it. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, commissioners, someone like to throw out a date? So today is Tuesday.
I'm jammed up the rest of this week, but next week before Friday looks pretty good.
Okay. I can do Monday, Tuesday of next week or this week. Anyone else have any thoughts on dates or times?
Monday or Tuesday of next week works for me in principle. This week does not.
Okay.
Tuesday at 5:15.
Tuesday, 5:15. We will have plenty of sunshine. Kyle, is that okay for you?
Yeah. Whatever works best. I can be there. So
Awesome. Kyle, when you come, can you bring a couple copies of the plan as well for the commissioners?
yes, yeah, I'll get a couple full-size prints.
Yep, just the top piece is great. Okay.
And is there anything the commission wants staked out? I assume the drive is already basically there, right? That's not going to change?
Yeah, so it'll probably be difficult for me to get Dillis and Roy out there to stake anything, but what I can do is myself scale off these telephone poles and get a pretty accurate representation of where things are. Like you can see where my cursor is, like this is a pole and then this is the stabilizer for the pole. So we'll be able to, I can pull some measurements and get the outsides of each pond and the opening to the driveway and all that, and get some stakes in there myself. So
Okay, that would be helpful.
okay, yeah, I can
Okay.
do that.
Great. Thank you for coming in, and we will see you on Tuesday, the 15th. I mean, Tuesday at 5:15.
At 5:15. Okay.
Not
All
the,
right.
not the 15th. Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time. Yep.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep. Okay, it's exactly 8 o'clock. We're going to open the public meeting for requested determination of applicability.
Oh, Sarah,
95
I
Mattawanna.
assume there's nobody from the public out there.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
yeah, you're right. You're fine.
Sorry, I can't see who's on there if there's any questions. 8 o'clock, public meeting, request for determination of applicability, 45 Mattawanna Trail, U47470. Provision of erosion control, including wall repair, drainage bed, and stairs. If someone's here, if you could, all righty, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I'm here for, I submitted the application and just maybe a quick brief timeline. We were
If you
here.
could, sir, if you could just identify your name, please, that would be
Oh,
great.
yeah. My name is Mark Hoffman.
Thank you, Mark.
And again, I represent the work at 45 Mattawanna Trail, and I appreciate the time to be able to talk to you today. We were here at the commission a little less than 2 years ago with for tree removal because there were trees that were in danger of falling into the lake. At the time, we were holding off on an erosion control plan and repair because the city was going to be doing work on 45 on Mattawanna Trail to reduce runoff, which caused erosion on our property. It was supposed to be done after July 2020. It turned out it wasn't finally done until December, the same day we actually had the trees taken down. Since we rent the property from September through June, we didn't get a chance to get up there and also observe what the results of the work were. It turned out that it significantly reduced a lot of the runoff, so we were able to move forward with the plan. We engaged Christian Delegano, who is also working with our neighbor, Dave Barr, at 49 Mattawanna Trail. And over the summer and into the fall, we developed a plan, which is what we have now. So the plan basically is to repair a wall that has basically fallen down. There is an area where we want to put in a drainage bed, slow and reduce the amount of subsequent erosion that's a result after all of the work was done and reduced the erosion from the street. There's an area where we used to or traditionally used to access the beach that was saw significant erosion, and as of last year it was very unsafe not only for our tenants but family to be able to actually walk down to the beach. So we're going to put erosion control in there because of the contour of the land. There's a very steep bank which goes down to the beach over most of the property fronting the beach. So we're planning on putting stairs on the opposite side, which basically meets with 43 Mattawanna Trail to build stairs, which are made out of granite. Alternatives look like we might try to use wood. We ran into issues with setback because they're so close to the property line, as well as long-term maintenance and possible contamination because of whatever material or preservative we might have to put on the wood to be able to actually maintain that over the long term. So the stairs seem to be the best option. So that's the overall plan. I can provide pictures and a map of the area if you'd like. I can share my screen, or I'm not sure how many of the commissioners have actually looked at the proposal and have a good understanding of what it is, but I'd be more than happy to answer questions for the remainder of time. Christian Delegano, I believe, is here. Yeah, I see Christian is there. So since I worked with him to be able to put the plan together, he can probably answer. He's the landscaper who's actually working with our neighbors at 49 Mattawanna Trail, and he's been very helpful in providing some ideas about how to actually perform this. We don't really have a lot of other options available to us, so that's kind of where we are right now.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, for your concise overview. If you do have photos that you would like to share, that would be wonderful, and then kind of go through as a recap of the construction sequence. And
yep. Okay. This is just a general map of the area. We got Mattawanna Trail up here. The house sits here. There's a wall which I'll show you a picture of in just a minute, which resides in this area, which needs to be rebuilt. This is the area we'll have a drainage bed. This is the area where we normally had access to the beach, but has been eroded. And then the stairs we put on this side instead. So that's just the general overview. This is a picture of the wall that has fallen down over the years. The property has been in the family since 1969, and this happened gradually over time, but has been accelerated in the last few years. So this has to be rebuilt, and Christian Delegano is going to be putting in some kind of drainage control behind that to handle gutter runoff and runoff from the driveway. That also came down from the Mattawanaki Trail. This is the area where the drainage bed would be. Foundation of the house is on the left. 49 Mattawanaki Trail, the property line is on the right. This would be filled with crushed stone, a walkway down the middle to allow access from the front to the back. And then finally, we might also intersperse this with some kind of vegetation which helps absorb water, like hosta. One of the issues we have is, since we're not up there for 10 months out of the year, watering and maintenance on the property is a bit of an issue that we really have a difficult time asking our tenants to do. This is the area, which is called Area 3, which leads down to the beach. This picture was taken while the water level has been dropped. You can see the dock is here, but the access has normally been through this area where I'm pointing to right now. You can see I had pavers put in here years ago, but they've all been sort of eroded away because of the runoff. Similarly here, a little further up to the upper portion of the property, the fence on the right is the property line. And then this is a view looking down from the top, from the backyard down along, and then showing the dock down below. This again is unsafe. Family members have had difficulty getting down there, and since we rent it, there's a liability issue involved in that for tenants. And this is the area where we'd like to put the stairs. That house on the left is 43 Mattawanaki Trail. We would like to build granite stairs going up this portion. And then a little further up, we'll go from here, like a small, not necessarily a plateau, but a reduced grade, and then up to the upper portion of the yard. So this would just not smooth granite, but would be granite, which is just sort of natural and would blend well into the property. And that's basically this. I have a copy of the quote from Christian Delegano, but I don't think that's going to be helpful at this point. So those are the overall plans.
Okay, commissioners have any questions, comments?
So right now, sir, we're looking at a request for determination of applicability.
Correct.
All work is within the 50-foot?
If I may just go back to the map, I didn't put it on there because I didn't realize I needed to at that point, but area 3 and 4 are within 50 feet. 50 feet is about this area here. And then 100 feet is just about here. The property line along the 49 to 45 Mattawanaki Trail line is 143 feet.
And the RDA to degree is my fault, because I know that the commission, especially I think with one of the last RDAs, was concerned with an RDA at all for any work within the 50. And the stairs was a little more than work than I thought it was going to be. So that's why it came in that way, with a waiver attached to it.
Mr. Hoffman, can you walk us through, are you looking at a dry well with your contractor, and then with your walkway, is that going to be pervious, impervious? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to probably defer to Christian, but my understanding would be steps going down. So if I go back to that one, there'll be steps coming down the middle here, not very wide, with crushed stone on either side to basically hold the ground in place, and to also filter any subsequent runoff that, again, has been reduced by the work done by the highway department.
And you had mentioned the drainage coming from the house or the back of your stone wall where it looks like it's been weeping through.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you going to address that?
That's going to be filled with crushed stone and back, and the water would be directed into that. And then that would be filtered through and then directed down to the, whatever's left would be directed down to the drainage bed here.
Amy, is there construction sequence or drainage bed material that's been submitted?
No, we were looking at crushed stone. So that would be basically on the proposal from our contractor, our landscaper.
Yeah, if you
It wasn't really a sketch or anything in there.
I do not have that, no.
No. There is a sequence of work though, and a list of materials for each of these portions of work.
That would be included in the proposal.
I'm sorry. I was saying that to Sarah, that they do.
Right. Well,
Thank you, Carl.
basically, let me just say the basic concern is stairs right now, because if we go back up there in the summer, or we have a tenant up there who's going down to the stairs, before the summer comes along, they leave at the end of June. We have the liability issue here, and this part going down here really is not accessible because of this large drop here. So we would have to basically put something in. So we have those issues. So the first step would be to actually build stairs, and then we would work our way back up by filling this area here with crushed stone, starting from larger to smaller, to basically keep this from eroding any further. And then we would work our way back up towards the front of the house, which would involve the drainage bed, and then finally up to the stone wall being repaired. That's what I would envision at this point being the order of work.
Has the
And I'll say
planting
the,
plan been submitted,
Pardon?
Amy? A planting plan? Or renaturalizing in some of this area for help of stabilization?
just as a description,
Okay.
especially over at the drainage bed.
Right. We had originally planned, when we took 2 trees down, to replace the trees. We had agreed that we would come back in a year. Unfortunately, the work had not been done on the street, so I didn't want to put any trees in until we knew what the results of that work were. Putting the trees in to replace the ones taken down are part of this plan. They're not in there now, but they will be placed in when we start the work, when we know what the commission allows us to do what we are able to do.
And also say that the erosion on the right side of the house fairly clearly was coming from the road from Mattawanakee, running down the driveway, running down the side, and has needed remediation.
Right.
So let's have a conversation about waiver, the waiver and meeting the merits of that. Has that been submitted?
What, the non-disturb area waiver?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the package. All right, I submitted that after submitting the original description of work.
And based primarily on remediating the erosion control issues and the safety with the stairs, with the access.
Right.
But 2 sets of stairs now, though.
No. Well, there's 1 set of stairs, but they're in 2 sections because the property drops. It levels off a little bit and then drops again. But it basically will be one staircase going from the backyard plateau all the way down to the beachfront. That would be this area here. That's the lower portion, and this would be the upper portion.
So are the 2 sections of stairs connected in some way? It looks like they're in entirely different portions of the property.
This part right here, if you look at this property here, it's just up here by the canoe.
Okay.
So it continues up and around.
I thought it was on the opposite side of the house.
No,
I
no,
did
no.
too.
It wraps around the tree. So if you go down here, you see this tree here? That one right there? And there's the canoe. If you look now, there's the tree and there's the canoe. So it wraps around the tree and it would be sort of curved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, there are some stepping stones up above where the drainage gravel is.
Thank you, sir. Would you like to identify yourself, please, to the commission?
Sure. My name's David Barr. I'm at 49 Mattawanakee Trail.
Okay. So where are you talking about, Dave? The right, this part here or up further?
Up next to the house. I think maybe that's what she was. There's there'll be stepping stones there, just stepping stones.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Back up here. Yes. There'll be probably a narrow path, just limited for access from the front yard to the backyard. That's all. They shouldn't be very wide. And the vast majority of this would be either crushed stone or include some kind of vegetation, possibly along the property line.
Just to be able to get through the stone area.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the commission's wish to go out and do a site walk?
I think that would be very helpful. I'm just wondering, with the amount of work being done, is this more of an NOI type project than an RDA? I mean, if we were to review this as an RDA, I mean, I would see it as being having the laws applicable to it. I don't know. How does the board feel about that?
I'm generally with you, Andrew. I don't see a pathway for this that doesn't involve an NOI. I have no problem with what's being put forward and the applicability of the waiver. I think it's a rational and appropriate application of the waiver, but I would prefer to see it formalized, particularly in the 0 to 50 with an NOI.
I agree with the scope. I agree with the scope of this. Okay. Would the commission like to schedule a site walk? Would we like to try and do it on the same day?
Sure.
Do we want to
We
try and
will
do
have an extra hour of daylight.
Yep. Do we want to do it following or prior?
I probably can't make prior, Sarah, but I also don't feel like I need to see this area.
Right. I agree with Chase. I wouldn't be able to make it prior.
Okay. So
Paints a
let's,
pretty good picture.
if we can, next Tuesday after the 5:15, I don't think we would be there until probably a little bit before 6, perhaps, with the traffic. Is there anything that commissioners would like to see marked out in terms of footage, locations or anything?
The stairs, definitely.
So the approximate location of the stairs?
Mhm.
Mr. Hoffman, are you able, or is someone of your representatives able to meet us next Tuesday? A little bit before 6
Next
o'clock?
Tuesday is what date? The 15th? As it looks right now, we should probably be able to, we're driving up from Connecticut, so it's about a 2.5-hour drive. So we'll try to get up there and be there.
Yep, so it is the 15th, correct?
Okay, and I'll check with our landscaper to talk about, marking things out if necessary.
Do we wish to have further conversation about a notice of intent versus RDA to give Mr. Hoffman guidance?
That would be helpful, yes.
Any other commissioners have any additional comments? I think you've heard from 2 or 3 of them so far.
I don't have anything said.
So are we leaning in, it sounds as though that we're leading in a position of asking him to go in a different direction with the notice of intent. Is that correct, commissioners?
That's what I prefer to see, a formal notice of intent. I don't see a need to change the proposed scope, but merely the administrative process by which we do it.
Okay.
Yep.
So that way I feel as though he's not going to lose a week by the time that we meet, have that conversation. So it would allow him to go ahead and change the application.
Sounds good.
Is there any other?
I would need the application. Well, maybe, I don't know how to do this. I would need the application by like tomorrow to make the newspaper ad for the 22nd.
We don't think the posting for the RDA.
I know, I wish they were, and you're not going to get a DEP number, certainly.
Well, I think we understand that, but even if you can always amend the application if there's something that can get put forth to let him go ahead and get that posted. Okay.
Yeah, I think if, Mark, if maybe we can discuss this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I can walk you through a real bare bones notice of intent. Because you already have the abutters list and all that stuff. Then we can get that in, and then we can flesh out the rest of the application, basically by just attaching this.
Okay.
Whatever we need to do, I would appreciate the help. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming in.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to hear the 8:15, it's 8:20, the public hearing notice of intent 22 Porter Road, Mass DEP, number not given, addition to a single family house. Is there someone here to speak to this?
Yes, for the record, my name is Russell Tedford. I'm with Hancock Associates. Today, I'm representing my client, John Corhonen, for the property at 22 Porter Road. Let me share screen here. Okay, so 22 Porter Road in total is about 2.36 acres. The majority of that area is wetland and part of Beaver Brook. So this house itself is contained to a small portion with private drive access to the north. Okay, and currently the applicant occupies a single family house at 22 Porter Road. So it's located in a residential district. It has both wetlands and riverfront from Beaver Brook located on site. Wetlands here, riverfront here. And let me just flip to color code plan. Okay. Okay, so with I sort of broke out these two plans due to the abundance of resource areas. Along with being in a wetland resource and riverfront area, it is also within a flood zone AE defined by elevation 225. And the applicant is proposing to propose a 950 square foot addition off the right side of his existing home. This is going to be a single level addition, screen porch area off the end, and a combination of a slab and walled foundation. Currently, we have the addition sitting outside of the 50-foot local buffer for structures. Additionally, I should note that along with the addition, work within the wetland area, 100-foot wetland area includes the construction and reconfiguration of his septic system. It's going to have to install a 1,500-gallon dual compartment tank to bring his system into compliance. Although he is proposing an addition, his existing system is already fitted or designed for a 4-bedroom house. Currently, it's a 3. So there is no expansion for the leaching field, just the construction of the tank. So the addition itself proper is outside the 50-foot buffer. The work entails also within the 200-foot riverfront area. And that portion of the addition is around 200 square feet, would total about 915 square feet of disturbance in the riverfront area. That's this area here. And otherwise, this project, single family house, we are not altering any sort of ground that's maintained within the buffer. All of the work proposed is within manicured lawn area that has already been disturbed. There's no stormwater controls on site currently, and as a single family house, we are exempt from those regulations. And yes, I think that's just about wraps up this presentation. And I'd like to open up to the board for if they have any questions or comments.
Go back to the previous screen.
Yep.
Could we zoom in just a little bit more on the?
Yeah, zoom in, and I was curious for the color-coded one that has these other lines as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's it. And then if you can just drag it down a little. No, other way.
Up.
Yeah. Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about your screened porch, the footings, and how that's going to be built? If it's where the water from that roof is going to go?
So it's a gable roof, so there's going to basically a lot of it's going to be pitched out towards this portion here. The screen porch itself it's going to be set on footings, kind of like a typical deck would be. It's not part of the full walled foundation like the rest of the addition would be.
So are you constructing, you're going to use dig and put sonotubes, or are you going to use precast? What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's going to be a sonotube.
Any commissioners have any questions or comments?
What color is showing the 50-foot?
That is the yellow dash lines right here.
So that,
When was, oh, sorry, go ahead, Carl.
you know, that corner of the addition is the closest that you're getting to the 50?
Mm-hmm. Currently, we have it sitting outside of the 50. It's the offset reads 50.1 feet.
Can you put your cursor where that is, please?
Yep.
So how are we accounting for erosion control and construction?
The erosion control is this brown dash line here. It's going to come around, well, tie into the existing wood deck, run parallel to the frontage, and then basically just be maintained by the existing vegetation line.
So then you
Okay.
have, yep, go ahead, Chase.
I was going to say, sorry, I think what you're getting at is something that I felt like we needed to clarify here, Russell.
Yeah.
It's the 50-foot is not a no structure zone, which is what you characterized it as. It's a no disturb zone. And I think that's probably where Sarah's going here, that it's going to be remarkably difficult to construct something at 50.1 feet without disturbing within the 50 foot.
Mm-hmm. I think our point, though, is that the existing resource or buffer area has already been disturbed. It's been maintained as manicured lawn since its construction, and after the addition is proposed to be built, it's going to maintain that original state that it's currently in.
Would someone like to outline what the waiver requirements are?
I'm just going to wait for somebody else to do that.
I don't think it's going to meet the waiver requirements.
Yeah, Russell, what I would point you to is the waiver requirements that specifically require one of several things. Either to prevent a public safety issue. Let me scroll down and make sure I get them. But essentially, the area in which you're working is already disturbed is not a component of the waiver request. And so at least I'm very protective of that, and I think the other commissioners probably are as well. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of disturbing within the 50 foot where it's not necessary.
Okay. So this the issue with that, so we're kind of battling in between both the reserve area here. Per Board of Health requirements, we're required to basically, from a slab foundation, we can be 10 feet off the reserve area to maintain its buildability. And that part and then 20 feet from a wall to foundation. So we are doing something funky here. Certainly we can, I mean, we can slide it up without violating any sort of zoning setback. And okay. And sort of hold the 50.
So I think what we would do is welcome you to come back just to kind of think about all that's been presented tonight and the comments from the commissioners. And we welcome you to come back at the next meeting, which is March 22nd, if you would like.
Yes, I would like to request the continuance.
Okay, great. Do you have any other
Sorry,
questions?
before we continue, sorry, can I ask one question? In terms of the wetland boundary, when was it most recently flagged in, and maybe in your filing if I missed it?
Yeah, it's noted here. So it was September of 2021.
Okay, so it's a relatively recent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Amy, have you taken a look at this flagging? Are you comfortable with it, or is it something that?
I haven't seen the flagging itself, but I was out on the site with the owner a while back, and the wetlands look fairly obvious to me, but I haven't seen the flags themselves.
Fairly obvious to you based on vegetation, or did you look at soils while you were out there?
I did not look at soils, but it doesn't turn to drop in vegetation.
Okay. I mean, I guess the reason I ask is that typically the transition in manicured areas can, the vegetation may not be the best indicator. Does it make sense to, before we continue this, to also go take a look at the flagging and make sure we're comfortable with it? Because whether we're at 50.1 feet or 52 feet, it seems like this is going to matter substantially. Sarah, do you want to, should we continue, or do you want to?
Well, I think that it would be, if we could move kind of like parallel. So Russell, we would defer to you with your applicant. So we do need to double check the wetlands line. It usually behooves the applicant to have that done prior to putting more work into engineering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we would definitely be open to schedule a sidewalk and walk the site with you, and then, yeah, look at the wetlands in turn, as well as, you know, a continuance, I guess, to the next meeting to just get it started.
Amy, would you like to go ahead and work with Russell in terms of scheduling a date and offer it to a commissioner if someone else would like to go out with you?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and at the least it'd be just me, and I'll see if I can snag a commissioner or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did the delineation?
David Cowell, he's a wetland scientist out of our office.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're familiar with Dave.
Okay. Commissioners feel comfortable with that strategy?
Yep.
And I'm actually, frankly, sorry, I didn't remember this earlier because we had forgotten it before, is that the addition is less than 1,000 square feet, but I think it's more than 10% of the house in terms of triggering the stormwater review under the bylaw.
Yes.
So more good information for them to take in. Okay.
One other point, Sarah. When we have the 50-foot line put down, I think Chase alluded to that. That's not a line where you put the edge of the building on typically.
Correct.
You know, that's not, you know, because if we had a 40-foot, you'd put it on the 40. So, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think, Russell, you've probably heard that from the commissioners this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and scoot on unless you have any other questions for us.
No, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. So I'll let you communicate with Amy to schedule a wetlands walk.
Okay.
And I didn't know, this is why I had suggested we table the Durkee and K certificate of compliance while Brian's here. I don't know if there's really much to talk about other than the fact that we're trying to move ahead with them again. But I think Hancock and I and the attorneys are at least in agreement of which houses still need the certificates of compliance as well as the roadways over there. So that's all that was.
Okay. All right, thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and open the 8:30, it's 8:35, continued public hearing, notice of intent, 27 Maplehurst Road, Mass DEP 204952, demolition and reconstruction of a single-family home septic system upgrade.
Hi, I'm Kyle Mann. I am the owner at 27 Maplehurst, where we are proposing the demolition of an existing dilapidated two-bedroom home and proposing reconstruction of a new two-bedroom dwelling. I've shared
Kyle, can you zoom out a little bit so people can see where this is on Hawthorne, if you have a locus?
Oh, sorry. So zoom out all the way or zoom in? Sorry. So I'll zoom back in here. So it's on the corner of Maplehurst and Hawthorne. Hawthorne is a paper road that's never been constructed. It runs parallel to this intermittent stream that is plotted on the plan here.
I am not familiar.
Okay. Yeah, so it basically runs parallel to Goldsmith Street on the opposite side of the lake. So those perpendicular roads all run perpendicular from Goldsmith to Hawthorne. So and Hawthorne runs down. This property is located on the corner of Maplehurst and Hawthorne, which is a not constructed paper road. So here we have wetland delineation that was done by Matt Morrow, who couldn't make it tonight. He ended up being busy, and we assumed that we'd be doing a site walk and having another meeting. So we're just here to kind of go over preliminary what we have and hope to take a look at the site. So Matt flagged this recently. I want to say within the last 3 months. I do not have an exact date here, but so we have the wetland delineation line here. This first dotted line where my cursor is a 25-foot buffer. And this line here is the 50-foot buffer. And then again, here's the 100. So with the existing dwelling is these dashed lines in a box. So we're proposing a smaller house box than what was there. We're taking the existing system, which was over here close to the wetlands where my cursor is now. The septic tank's here, which is why we propose erosion control, because we'll have to abandon that. So that's located closer to the wetlands. So we've provided a new septic system, which has been approved through the Board of Health in the last meeting. So that's been done. And we've pulled everything out of the 50-foot buffer, including all grading, all construction, and septic system. So there's, as you can see, there's no grading contours in the buffer. This house is essentially going to be a slab on grade, a garage over here where my cursor is on the left side at the end of the proposed driveway. And then the rest of the house will remain a slab. There'll be somewhat of a split entrance, a small dwelling, like an 1,800 square foot house with a garage and septic behind here. So,
Kyle, do you need ZBA approval to put the septic that close to the property line?
So we had to request a variance through the Board of Health, which has already been approved. So that's
okay. You only need the variance from the
just the variance to the board. Yeah, if it's a structure, so our wall isn't over 4 feet that we've proposed, so it doesn't require the zoning board. It's just essentially it's down at this end. At the tallest, it's 2.5 feet. In this end, it just tapers into the slope, and this is to retain the leaching field and keep all grading out of the 50-foot buffer. Aesthetically, it'll be nice. It'll essentially be it's a slab on grade, so this side will be a walkout. We have a deck proposed here, which is also outside the 50-foot buffer. That variance was requested and accepted through the Board of Health.
Kyle, do you have a picture of the house or the land at all, or are there any trees, or is there grass?
So there is grass. This I apologize. I actually don't have any pictures. But so over to this area here, up until the brush line, this is all grass. So there's no There's no trees on the property at all. There's a couple in between this property line here, but they're on the neighboring property. So on this site, it's grass up to this point. Behind the building here is so this is the back of the existing structure where my cursor is here. So you can see that's very close to the property line. So between this and the property line is like heavily grown in with some invasive nasty weeds, but there's no trees on site. This is actually a plotted tree here, but that's like a dead ornamental type of thing. So there's no large trees on site at all. Again, this up here is a pretty much dead ornamental, not large tree by any means. So and this area over here is all grass, which had been maintained. It's not like weeds and knotty. It's lawn area. So
What's your water source, Kyle?
town water, which is proposed here. There's actually a water main all the way down to the end of the street. And there's the house was previously serviced by town water. So we'll be tying into the same curb stop and running town water into the building. So, and fortunately enough, that curb stop was actually also located outside the 50-foot buffer. So we'll be able to do that work as well without being inside that 50-foot buffer.
So Kyle, what's the closest point of that house to the 50-foot?
This corner here where my cursor is.
Yes.
It's at about 50, I'd say 52 feet, I think was what we were shooting for. So that way any overdig would stay out of the buffer as well. And there'll be no grading around this area too, because it's going to essentially be a slab on grade. Obviously familiar with the area. It's a groundwater's high all through that area. So that's the reason why it's a slab, and reason why the septic's slightly elevated.
I think it would be helpful for a subsequent meeting, which I think you're already anticipating, to show just the design of the planned new construction.
So I don't have it. I'm sorry.
I think this is valuable to see the matching here, or to see what was and what will be, but
the picture of the existing.
It's a little hard to follow. Yeah.
So I don't have, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a plan of the new construction, because in the past, I came through after paying for a plan, and then I had to just pay for a whole new plan. So this is the box we're sticking with. And it, like I said, it's just a 2-bedroom dwelling. So it's by no means a large building, but I did not spend any money on designing a house yet, just because in past projects I've had to completely start from scratch again. So I was hoping
I was a little lazy with what I meant there. Just the box, but on a plan that only shows the proposed new construction in the wetland boundaries.
Without the old box here. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So it's these dotted line, this solid line is proposed.
Okay.
Great.
So is the deck proposed or existing?
The deck is proposed as well. This deck is proposed for the new structure. Yeah, I guess it's kind of difficult. It's a little. Let me zoom in a little bit more here too.
Well, I think it's just hard because it wasn't kind of color coded out or hatched out.
Yeah. So that the box with the dash lines is existing. I'm running my cursor along that here. It's a very awkward shaped building. It's quite dilapidated, but it was lived in up until the beginning of December. So I would say it's ready to be replaced. And if you guys get your eyes on it, I think that you will agree with that. But yeah, so, and then where my cursor ended here is the back of the building. So the existing structure was also just barely inside the 50-foot buffer where my cursor is here, but the existing septic system was located entirely. The tank was in the 50, and the leaching field was actually in the 25, very close to the actually delineated line here.
So certainly the septic system's an upgrade by working in the 50, and I think by removing the house, the dilapidated house out of the 50, that meets the waiver requirement. I think you are very close on that corner, as Carl was chatting, just below your
This
the
corner here.
TH4. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is slightly close. I think we're about 1.5 feet out of it. I can scale and get that dimension for you there. But yeah, I'd say it's about 52 feet from the delineated line.
So that could vary depending on the delineation, because we haven't seen this delineation yet, have we?
No.
So if that delineation line moves at all up.
Yeah, like I said, Matt couldn't make it tonight, but Matthew Morrow is, I think you guys are familiar with. He did the delineation and explained it as a very clear, cut and dry. The runoff from Maplehurst runs down. There's basins that are gathered in the street and actually terminate at the end here. So there's water that flows into this intermittent stream that runs through. So I think Matt explained it as conservative, the delineation line. So
that stream dries out.
Yes, the first time I walked the site, actually, there was no water. Now there's water. But I believe in the middle of this year, just as that stream that runs through, the other side there through Washington Drive, how that dries up, this does the same.
So Amy, would you like to schedule a time to go out and then here again, see if a commissioner wants to jump out with you, or do you want to go?
I didn't catch all that, but yeah, so I can schedule time. I'll go out and see if I can grab a couple of commissioners.
Right. Do you want Matt to be there when you're going out?
Probably a good guess.
Okay. So Kyle, if you could relay that message to Matt to have him reach out to Amy.
Yes. Yep.
The hope would be that would be done, ideally in the next week or so, obviously before the next meeting, if something does have to change.
Yeah. Matt mentioned that he would be available for a site walk if necessary, and I will have him coordinate that with Amy, and I can be on site as well.
Okay. So our next meeting is March the 22nd. Is it your wish to go ahead and continue till then?
Yes. And in the meantime, I'll have Matt schedule with Amy a site walk.
Okay. Any of the commissioners or anyone else have any other questions for this site? Okay. All right. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Okay, it's 8:48, opening the public hearing notice of intent for 845 331 Goldsmith Street. No DEP number. Reference U15750, construction of a garage and after the fact filling the fill and grading in a buffer zone subject to an enforcement order from August 21.
And this was also a Matt Marrow project. He was in before, I think when I was on vacation. He had a pretty bad case of COVID and was out for almost a month. So he is not caught up. So I think it's,
So are we
Lawson
just
Associates, I think, has a plan. So they asked this to be continued to the 22nd.
okay. Do we know if 9 o'clock is coming on for 628 Newtown?
I did not hear either way from them, from either the owner or the engineer.
Okay. So as a point of reference, let's catch up with some of the other administrative discussions and then we'll come back to the 9 o'clock. So right now we have 2 site walks scheduled, one at 5:15 and one closer to 6. Do you want to talk about the cell tower budget, or do we also want to talk about 166 Mill Road?
Yeah, so I added, I don't know if you saw the budget or I can throw it up there, the $3,000 almost placeholder for invasive species control in the budget. So it's now 13,100. neither Joe nor Alicia could make it tonight because they're down in finance right now to discuss the Oak Hill budget in general. But I think it's worth, if you're agreeable, a vote for at least that's what the budget is that we're going to town meeting for, and where the money's coming from. I think at least Joe can come in on the 22nd to discuss, or maybe it's Alicia can come in on the 22nd.
Sounds good. And Amy, did we get any more clarification on the accounts and what might happen to the existing funds?
No. And that's why, and I think Chase had brought this up too. I went to see if either Joe or Alicia could come in, but they couldn't tonight, so they can come in on the 22nd. And hopefully they'll have a cohesive discussion of where this money's coming from, put it that way. So that we have in there right now.
Budget, I mean, if there was some way to
an illegal intent, but that was the intent.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, you know,
Need to be ahead of this a little bit more aggressively.
No, and right now, the bond for, I think Prouty is coming out of it, which is how it was set up. So, you know, that's got to come out of somewhere in the future too. And I think that bond is up in 2024, which would be nice because then we'd be getting an extra maybe $20,000, or would have been getting an extra $20,000 left in the cell tower. Because we took out, I think it was $150,000 for Browns Woods.
So Andrew, do you think we need to put forth an action item just as a letter or anything?
I think it would be helpful. I don't know where Alicia is on this right now in terms of either setting up special state legislation to create separate accounts. I don't know where the town is on that, but in the meantime, we just have to make sure that our money doesn't wind up, you know, somewhere else. So yeah, absolutely. If we could maybe draft something to the finance department, just to make sure we're ahead of the curve, like you said.
Do you want to just make a motion of what you just said so that we know that we're all in support?
So moved.
Fair enough.
More point, who's writing this letter? Do you want me to take a stab at it and you guys can all then pig pile on it?
Sure, and I don't think it has to be as in depth with the one that Chase wrote earlier. I think it's just a statement that we vehemently oppose the transfer of these funds.
Yep.
And seek a practical solution to keep them within open space interests as opposed to the general fund.
Awesome. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay.
All right. Roll call vote. Brian.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Sarah.
Sarah Seward, aye.
Chase.
Chase Gerbeck, aye.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, aye.
And how did I?
Oh, Max, you're aye.
Oh, there you are. And myself, I don't know why my screen wouldn't go over. All right. It's unanimous.
Okay. Thank you. Amy, thank you in advance for drafting that. 166 Mill Street schedule. Amy, I'm assuming this has to be arranged with Bartlett.
Yes, he did say he was fairly open. But I'm not sure. There's a lot of sidewalks. What have we got? We've got 2 arranged.
Right. Is
And
there
then 2
anyone
more.
that's around this week that wants to do it with me so we can at least get that one done?
And actually, I was also going to mention Cooper needs attention now that we can walk out there.
Okay.
Sarah, I live 3 houses down, so I can pretty much get over there whenever you.
Well, you just tell me and I will be there and we'll make sure Bartlett's there.
Yeah, I'm available Thursday or Friday evening.
You tell me.
Well, it guess it depends on what Bartley can do too, but if he's available Thursday, that works for me.
So you're talking like 5:15-ish or something, probably?
Sure. I honestly, I'll be available anytime after probably 4 or 4:30.
Yeah, I'm around. So do you want to say 4:30? See if that works for Bartlett.
5:15 sounds good.
Oh, you can make it now? I will definitely change it to 5:15.
Or I will snag Andrew for the other 2 site walks.
There you go. As long as they're 5:15, I can do them.
All right. So let's see if Bartlett can meet us 5:15 on Thursday at 166 Mill. I'm going to need it.
Include me, just in case I can make it.
Oh, I'll include everybody.
Okay.
Right. So Amy, in the morning, if you can just send a site walk outline, that would be great. So we've got 3 scheduled so far. And then Amy will throw in the other ones that we talked about tonight in terms of wetlands lines. So maybe Amy, if you could put those on the to-do list, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to be able to do those next week. And I could do them in the middle of the day, but I'm not sure if anybody else could join me.
Middle of the day is actually better for me, Amy. I can't do the 5:15 slot.
So Brian, is like noon, lunchtime, or don't you really care too much?
Yep. No, that's perfect.
All right.
Brian, do you want to throw out a day that might work for you?
Really, any day other than Friday next week. So whatever's best for you, Amy.
Good. Friday stinks too. Okay, I just can't do. Yeah, I'll see if they can do it Monday or Tuesday.
Because that way you could see if Matt Morrow could be out there or Kyle. Okay. Let's jump back. It's 9 o'clock. We've continued this hearing quite a few times. 628 Newtown Road with John Field. That's the replace the gravel driveway with the pavers. They're still supposed to submit some information that the commissioners had asked for that. I think Chase and Carl had asked for that. So we had a discussion a couple months ago about it. At what how many meetings do we still continue to carry on some of these?
Can we talk about this or not?
No.
If it's on the agenda, why couldn't we?
No one's here to represent Carl. So we're not going to open it. But the question is, do we want to keep continuing it? Because it's holding a place. And so I think it's been on agenda. We had talked about 6 meetings or 6 months. I don't know if we came to a consensus on that, but I think we need to, because our agendas are going to start to get very full.
But they didn't even let Amy know one way or the other this time, right? Like
No.
that's just kind of rude, right? Like I'd say take him off. And
Okay.
Why should we take up whatever? It's just a little bit of time. But
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
I think what you might need to do is continue it to the 22nd, so I can send them a letter saying if they don't show, it will be, if this is the way you want to go, denied for lack of information.
Okay.
Just give
I would be in
official
support of
notice
that.
in between.
I mean, we're talking about just finding some backup for permeable pavers, right? They've been doing that for 2 months. Like Chase, like it's not, the literature is out there.
Right. Okay. So I think that's a brilliant suggestion. I support it. If the rest of the commissioners do that, send a letter and say the clock is ticking.
I think sometimes we're too nice.
Speak for
I'm
yourself.
not sure the
Carl.
public agrees with that always.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always so easy. You just kick the can down the road to the next meetings.
Okay.
That's why I put them on.
Let's go back. I think we have covered everything.
Can I bring up, I just want to see if I could get an update. I'm not sure, can you bring an item up that's not on the agenda?
Nope, but you can ask Amy tomorrow.
Oh, you can ask me now.
So
What were you going to ask her about? So?
I just want an update on the orchard.
Oh, that's easy. I can't.
I haven't heard.
Just tune into the next selectmen's meeting. You'll get it. You'll get an
Wait,
update.
isn't it Sarah that we should be asking?
Yeah.
I'm pointing at her right now.
Yeah.
I am out of the loop and I am trying to stay out
I'll
of the
call
loop.
you tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. So
Thanks.
When's the next meeting?
Selectmen will have an update next meeting.
When's that meeting? Sorry, I can look it up, but
Same night as us.
yeah, right.
So it's the 15th.
Monday before. Yeah.
Monday, right.
The day we're on the site walks. Okie dokie, it's 9:01. Does anyone know? Yep, go
just-
ahead, Amy.
And just as part of the administrative stuff, FYI, if you want to think about it all, I think the benthic mat stuff is going to be coming in as a notice of intent. So that'll be something to chew on. Yeah. And I will be submitting for some more boardwalks.
Cool.
So if I can get my act together, you'll see that soon too.
Town forest.
Town forest. And what we're calling balsam. That goes through the balsam lane.
Exciting.
To adjourn.
Andrew, are you making a motion?
I did. Motion to adjourn
What time?
at 9:02 p.m.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. All those in favor? Brian.
Aye.
Oh, who said that? Your turn.
You're late.
Brian Crowley, aye.
Sarah.
Sarah Seward, aye.
Chase.
Chase Gerwig, aye.
Carl.
That'd be me. Aye. Carl Melberg.
Kyle.
Maxfield, aye.
And myself, aye. It's unanimous.
All right,
Good
we'll see some
night.
people on some site walks soon. Remember, ticks are out already.
Can I tell you
Yes.
guys, I quickly tell you guys why I was late. I was attending the Neshoba Tech School Committee meeting where I've been an alternate for 11 years.
Wow.
And I just resigned.
That's why he's so jovial right now.
Yeah, that's it. He's in a good mood.
Well,
What happens?
alternates don't do a lot of work, as you probably know.
Well, we
Depends on the
appreciate
alternate.
your service of 11 years, Carl.
Thanks.
Thank you, Carl.
Good night.
All right,
Night,
night,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.